The Hawks are 1-2 on the season, and tonight they start their East Coast road trip, taking on the Chicago Bulls at 8 o'clock in Chicago, Illinois. But there are multiple reports about Trae Young and his contract situation and whether or not he is going to sign, or the fact that he hasn't signed, and this has major implications for the Hawks' future going forward. I am here to talk about all of it. Walter Pollard, of course. I'm here to talk about every last bit of this situation because there are multiple reports coming out basically speaking on the fact that Trae Young hasn't signed his contract and what it looks like going forward. The fact that maybe Trae Young and the Atlanta Hawks are playing the long game. Maybe they intend on waiting to see how things pan out, and hopefully things will end up in the positive for both the Hawks and Trae Young. But if in fact things do not come to a amicable end, if the Atlanta Hawks and Trae Young don't find something that can actually be beneficial for the future, we might be saying goodbye to Trae Young in the Atlanta Hawks uniform. But before we get into all of that, what's going on, everybody? My name is Walter Pollard. This is Atlanta Hawks Digest, and I thank you all for spending this morning with me. Of course, what I definitely got a hold of is some interesting news. Of course, I've spoken about it all season, all off season, because the season's only been 3 games in. We got 79 games left. Starting tonight, we're going to be taking on the Chicago Bulls. But of course, throughout the offseason, we talked about Trae Young and his contract situation looming. You know, the fact that it is time to decide whether or not the Hawks are going to sign Trae Young to an extended long-term supermax or a max deal. And we also understand how the apron, the first, second, and third apron works now. That new ruling that has been added to the NBA, so it definitely levels the playing field for majority of teams. It limits the ability to have a super team, coined back in the mid to early 2000s. I'm taking my talents to Miami. Let me stop. But my point is that we know now here in the Atlanta area that time is ticking. Time is definitely ticking, and we need a decision by either the Atlanta Hawks or Trae Young within the next within this time period. Actually, before the All-Star break, I personally would suspect that there will be a decision by both Trae Young and the Atlanta Hawks, but it's only up for us to see. Let me go ahead and first do my due diligence. I want to thank everybody for viewing our content, watching the show. Definitely myself, Chris Tip, and myself, we are definitely thankful to you all, and we thank you guys here at Digest Media as well. I told you, it's a conglomerate from hockey to basketball to football to baseball. Listen, we're all over the place, so definitely tune in, click in your favorite team. Definitely just type that into YouTube. You'll definitely get a good view of it. And also, too, man, stick with us, man, at Hawks Digest. Of course, the 53% of you that are not subscribed, that is fine because we still see you guys viewing our content. So please, please, please continue to view our content, and we will definitely continue to give you guys much needed updates, much needed information regarding Trae Young, Dyson Daniels, Zaccharie Risacher, Kristaps Porzingis, Jalen Johnson. We'll give you all the info you need in regards to these Atlanta Hawks because, hey, this is going to be a long season, as we all can see. So, of course, we already know the situation between Trae Young. Of course, I've already spoken about it. Fans are tired of it. You dig what I'm saying? Fans are tired of the whole issue behind that. And you also see that there are different people that are coming up with different theories as to whether or not Trae Young is going to stick with the Hawks. I even came up with my own theory saying that Trae Young is going to be an Atlanta Hawk. It just depends on how things pan out in the beginning. Quite frankly, things haven't necessarily started off the way we wanted to, but I'm not going to be hitting the panic button just yet because it's only 3 games. It's only been 3 games. And there are 79 games left in this season. So I know for a fact that things can definitely and will change. So I understand that. But you do wonder, what is the delay? What is the delay between the Atlanta Hawks and Trae Young? Now, there also have been some speculation and rumors and also theories as to earlier this off season. I have to point that out because the season's only been 3 days. I have to get used to it. You guys got to forgive me. But we understand that this offseason, Trae Young had posted Michael Jordan with the tablet meme, laughing at while he's looking at the tablet. If you guys know, The Last Dance, he was watching one of his former players say something about him. He was laughing at it. But that meme was telling, because the theory was that the Atlanta Hawks had made Trae Young an offer, but Trae Young laughed at it. And Trae Young was like, that is way too small, way too low. I'm a perennial all-star. I am somebody that deserves to be with a max contract with a team, and this is not what I'm going for. So that was a speculation earlier this offseason. But now that we've gone past the offseason, the Atlanta Hawks have added multiple players: Kristaps Porzingis, Luke Kennard, Nickeil Alexander-Walker. They brought in other guys like Caleb Houston. They've brought back Jalen Johnson, signed Dyson Daniels to an extensive contract. Zaccharie Risacher is coming of age. Things are on the up and up for the Atlanta Hawks. So what in the world is going on with Trae Young? So I have two scenarios, right? I have a good and a bad. I'm going to give you the good first because I feel as though that's going to soften the blow. So first things first is that Trae is up for, of course, the Supermax contract. And if he earns the All-NBA honors, regardless of the Atlanta Hawks' first, second, or third apron, how that deal goes, the Atlanta Hawks could or would pay Trae Young a significant amount of money. Actually, they probably pay him anywhere north of $4 years, $229 million to a 5-year, $345 million deal. So again, I believe that would actually make Trae Young quite happy. That would make Trae Young quite happy. He'd be a happy man. I think he would have the team around him that he believes is going to be there. Now, about the team, again, these first 2 to 3 games, I talked about it in my last video. For one, there were 3 games in 4 days. That's something that any team would definitely have issues with. Be that, it's very tough to keep that going. The only day that they didn't play was traveling down to Orlando, and then they had to travel right back to play against Oklahoma City Thunder in a back-to-back. So playing those 3 games in 4 days was definitely tough for the Atlanta Hawks. Not only that, Kristaps Porzingis was out for the second game. Zaccharie Risacher was out for the second game. Jalen Johnson was out for the second game in that back-to-back. So again, despite the fact that versus Toronto, the Hawks looked like they didn't know what they were doing, they were able to get themselves back on track with Orlando, and then taking on the NBA champions at home. Again, early challenges for the Atlanta Hawks, not making any excuses because you put your best 5 out on the floor, just like they put their best 5 out on the floor. So we know what is ahead of the Atlanta Hawks. We know what they need to do. Now, here is the second scenario, right? However, okay, a more grim theory for Trae Young is that the Hawks are simply willing, they're simply not willing to go all in with Trae Young. They're not willing to make that stretch for him. They're not willing to go supermax or, max deal with Trae Young. And again, that brings me back to the original thing that happened, or the original theory that happened earlier this offseason when Trae Young posted the meme with Michael Jordan laughing at the tablet. It basically says that these two sides aren't able to come to an amicable end. Now, again, I don't think that is the case. And Trae Young has said multiple times that he wants to be in Atlanta. He has made a name for himself. The culture actually buys into Trae Young. That culture actually wants Trae Young to be here, but they want him to win just like he wants to win in Atlanta. I believe the moves have been made with the Atlanta Hawks. The Atlanta Hawks have done their due diligence, bringing in the people that they need in order to, for one, help Trae Young with the overall team in itself. You dig what I'm saying? The only issue is they need to make sure that they stay healthy. Last year, we had an issue with the injury bug that derailed the season, because going into the, not play-in, but the in-season tournament, the Emirates NBA Cup, the Atlanta Hawks took it all the way to Vegas, you dig? And the Atlanta Hawks were showing themselves. Trae Young was, rolling the dice, you dig what I'm saying, on the New York Knicks logo. So Atlanta definitely were feeling themselves on the other side of the year. But then once the year changed, once we went into January of 2025, things just did not pan out at all. Jalen Johnson went out, you dig what I'm saying, which thrusted Zaccharie Risacher to the front. They did make some trades, some late trades. I think it was the trade deadline. The Atlanta Hawks did make some trade deadlines that were supposed to help, but I don't think necessarily help the team in general. So we understand that that's where we sit with the Atlanta Hawks and Trae Young. And you guys tell me in the comments, how do you guys feel in regards to that? Because this definitely points to a big issue with the Atlanta Hawks. And how can they, I guess in my instance, we've seen how the NBA in itself doesn't necessarily have a specific market for Trae Young. So it almost seems as if Atlanta is the place for him to go. But again, you guys tell me in the comments, let me know how you feel. Now, going into tonight's game versus the Chicago Bulls, again, there's not much to really go off of because everybody in the NBA, they're trying to find themselves inside of their team. Each team is a different team now. Every team is different. So we know that going into this game is going to be interesting tonight versus Chicago, 8 p.m. Of course, the Atlanta Hawks 1-2, Chicago 2-0. Chicago last season went 39-43, 28-24 in the Eastern Conference. Now they got rid of some weight. They did get rid of some weight. First of all, getting rid of Lonzo Ball, bringing in some other folks. So of course, Chicago looks definitely different. But for the Chicago Bulls, Kobe White is out. Zach Collins is out with the wrist. Kobe White with a calf injury, or it just says calf in the injury report. So those two guys are going to be out for the Chicago Bulls. Of course, still with the Atlanta Hawks, Zaccharie Risacher, KP, and Jalen Johnson. All three of those guys are still out. And they are listed as day to day. Now, granted, it's still in the morning, so something could change. You dig what I'm saying? We might get a late change as far as whether or not they're going to be in the game or not. But as far as the injury report goes for right now, we see that they are all day to day. I do expect for the Atlanta Hawks to possibly get a win, get back to 500 on the season, giving Chicago their first loss of the year. But again, it's an early season. It's early in the season, and we will see who this team is as time goes along. We do know that the young guys are going to get more burn as the season goes along. We saw Asa Newell early in the season, and we've seen how he's able to pop and shoot the ball. Hopefully Luke Kennard can definitely get his shot going. And of course, we've seen a lot of Nickeil Alexander-Walker so far this season. Hopefully he can also develop a presence on this team. Another thing that I want to point out before I get out of here, we got Mo Gay and we got Onyeka Okongwu. They're also still going to be they're definitely going to be getting a lot of minutes. So expect to see a lot of aggression from Mo Gay. Definitely excited to see more shot selection, more outside shooting from Onyeka Okongwu, something that he has worked on from last season to the offseason up into this season. So with all of that being said, my name is Walter Pollard. This is Atlanta Hawks Digest, and I'm signing out. Peace.